we will do.
So, Bibi Netanyahu says, I've been wanting to do this for 40 years. And finally, I'm able to do that, to hit this regime hip and thigh. And the regime now, Donald Trump turns around and says that 48 Iranian leaders are gone in one shot. That's what President Trump is saying. America knows how many targets are left. But the Iranians are saying, we also know where your weak points are and where we want to hit you. And no matter what happens to us, we will hit you too. That's what they are saying, Fatah Khabar, the Iranians. We've got one more thing. German Chancellor has come out and said Iran's mullah regime is coming to an end. Germany's Chancellor is saying after the killing of the Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei. Now, is this going to escalate further, or if there is a leadership vacuum in the Iranian leadership, the regime, will the people now want a turn? Now, if that turn happens, who's next? Because there is nobody, no other alternative. Or will America say, oh, listen, our job was just to move the regime. We've moved them out. Now you decide what you want to do. And then we have a whole new mess in Iran. Adrian.
I think it is absolutely the weak point of the American and Israeli strategy, because it is roughly hoping for the best. So if they manage to weaken the regime, and if the population revolt, it is two big ifs. But even so, there is no one who can predict what will happen after a while, because the Islamic Republic was a dictatorship, so there was no organized opposition political party. So you are basically not knowing what you are going into. And we have precedents about such circumstances. It was Syria and it was Libya. Let's say it didn't end very well.
Yeah.
Or at least not before a decade of civil war. So normally, and it is what the Indians did during Operation Sindoor. The political leadership has to set clear political goals, and then the armed forces are operating on the operational, tactical level, and they use violence, they use force to pursue this political strategic objective. But in these circumstances, I'm sorry, but the political objective is unclear. And if the political objective is unclear, there is no way the use of force can give precise and determined results.
So you're comparing this with Op Sindoor, and viewers, this is very interesting. Let's get Professor Danny Obak to respond on this, and then we'll bring in Ambassador Sajjan Har and also Sushant Sareen, Tom Cooper too. But Professor Danny Obak, the comparison with Op Sindoor is that Bharat knew exactly what the objective was, what the goal was. When that goal was achieved, the pause button was pressed. We backed off. In this case, there is no clarity what is the political objective. And when that happens, there is no defining the military activity behind it. Professor Obak.
You know, I'd like to challenge your assumptions and the assumptions of my colleague here. Usually the imagination that every war is a close-knitted strategy and political plan behind it for the day after, this is nonsense. This is the illusion and the myth of armchair strategists. Usually wars are being conducted under a lot of uncertainty. Give you one example. In the Second World War, nobody knew what the day after would be until 44, 45. I'm making a complicated story simple. In this case, though, what the operation is set to achieve is A, to weaken the regime enough that there will be an option for a popular uprising. The popular uprising is not the goal. Maybe it will be, maybe it will not be. But the main goal is to destroy the assets of the Iranian regime, the navy, the remnants of the nuclear program and the ballistic missiles program that threaten the region. That's the main issue. Revolution in Iran, who knows?
So the idea is to wipe out the nuclear capabilities and also the ballistic missile capability.
In the Navy, the Iranian Navy.
And the Iranian Navy. So that's why the corvette has been sunk. But armchair strategists will not understand this, Tom Cooper. that you cannot have a political objective?
During the Second
Because
World War,
things
it
are
was
evolving.
perfectly clear. During the Second World War, things were perfectly clear as early as 1941, when Roosevelt and Churchill sat down together and started building up the future United Nations. And there was never a discussion about the beyond the fact that they are aiming to destroy the Nazi regime in Germany and remove the one in Italy, but especially to destroy the one in Germany and to replace it with one which is then peaceful. In this case, there is no such clarity.
In this case, there's no such clarity. Let's bring in our other guests and ask them. Ambassador Sajanhar, which side are you on? Adrian and Tom Cooper or Professor Orbach?
Thank you very much, Anand. I have always been saying that the game plan, the strategy for the day after is very unclear, is very unknown. And that is very critical, that is very crucial, because you have to know, how do you end it? There is the comparison that was given with Op Sindoor. We were completely dominating the escalation ladder. We knew how it was going, we were controlling it. And we knew when to stop it, when our objectives have been achieved. But as far as this is concerned, the idea that was given was regime change. Okay, fine, if you get this regime out, what comes in its place? It has not been articulated. We have heard Mr. Trump saying, I know exactly, who is going to sort of, take over. But the only person who has been on the scene, on the horizon, who has said, that I would like to come back and take over the reins, that is Reza Pahlavi. But he has received no endorsement whatsoever from the American side or from any of the others. The second point is, maybe what the Americans and the Israelis thought that there would be a huge upsurge of support for removing this regime from there, the Islamic regime from there. But that doesn't seem to have come. And the reason, if you permit, I'll say in 2 words. Number one, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has been killed. He's a religious leader, so all there is this uprising in terms of the religious support for him. The opposition to this regime is economic, is much more economic because of the hardships that they have been subjected to. Of course, it's been political also. But as far as religious aspect is concerned, that is where you see all these people coming out. And the last point here is any people, and the Iranian are proud people, if you try to engineer something from the outside, then it will be difficult to get people to sort of, subscribe to that point of view. That is why maybe to an extent what the Americans and the Israelis are saying, let them decide what they want to do. But without a leader, it becomes very, very difficult, if not absolutely impossible, to see where things are going.
True, but the fact is that there is no internal leadership. What are you going to leave Iran back with and for the rest of the people in Iran? Sushant Sareen, which side are you on? Is there a clear objective? End the regime, finish the nuclear weapons program, damage the entire ballistics missile program, job done? Or should there be a larger, clearer objective? Ji, you're on mute.
I would imagine that's a very clear objective. If those are your 3 objectives, even if you don't get regime change, but you denuclearize Iran and you, like I said earlier, you emasculate it so that it's not a threat to any of the other countries around, then I think the purpose of this conflict has been served.
Right.
And if in the process you can also effect a regime change, then yes, that's the icing on the cake. But I think we should be careful when we say about the role of the supreme leader as the religious head. Look, there are many surveys from Iran which claim that 30 to 40, maybe even a larger number of people are actually atheists. They don't subscribe to the mullahs in Iran. They, in fact, they despise them, they abhor them. Among the rest of the people, I think there would again be a split of people who might be religious, but do not subscribe to the mullahcracy in Iran. And then, of course, there would be a substantial number of people who would be entirely with the current regime and back it and actually benefit from it and support it wholeheartedly. So
Right.
that sense would be a split society. For anyone to claim that Khamenei was some kind of an imam and that everybody will genuflect before him, even in the Shia in the Shia hierarchy of spirituals, he doesn't really stack up to the guy from Iraq, Ali Sistani.
Yeah.
So I think we need to be careful on that count. Secondly, I agree that there is no visible leadership, alternate leadership available outside the current regime. Now, frankly, I think anybody who thinks that you are going to bring in Raza Pahlavi and install him out there, he will be as big a disaster as that fly-by-night operator that the Americans had got convinced by and who took them for a royal ride in Iraq, a man by the name of Ahmed Chalabi.
Yeah.
Right? You want to repeat that kind of a thing? Yeah, go ahead, be my guest. But I don't think Raza Pahlavi is a credible figure. And we saw even in Afghanistan, after the Taliban had been deposed in 2001, the king came back, but the king never became the king. Right? The world had moved on, the country had moved on. The king might have been a very respected person, but he was no longer acceptable as king. I would imagine something similar would happen in Iran, where yes, a bunch of people who would be royalists, but I think by and large, I don't see the acceptability of Raza Pahlavi.
So if there are perhaps a situation where there will be free and fair elections, why did you say that you agreed with Sushant there, Tom, when he talked about the clerical leadership not being the supreme leader, not having the kind of position?
Because there were significant doubts about qualification of late Ayatollah, Grand Ayatollah Khamenei, his religious qualifications. And several of his opponents within the clergy landed in a, well, not directly in a prison, but under similar circumstances because they were opposing him.
Right.
And he de facto capped himself to power.
Right. We're just getting to understand there's a fresh wave of airstrikes. There's a larger, this one, of course. Okay, now there is some welcome news to those who are stuck in Abu Dhabi, in Dubai. The Emirati government has come out and said the Department of Culture and Tourism has directed hotels to extend the stay of guests unable to travel due to current restrictions. The authority has said the cost of extended stays will be covered by the Department of Culture and Tourism Abu Dhabi, and hotels have been asked to send related invoices to the department. So that is something which is critical, imperative, and for us to put out. We put that out. I've just read out because it's just come into the system, viewers. I've read it even before our team at the back end has been ready to even put that out. They will put it out. You'll see the notice. We'll also call out the notice here on our screens if we can, on the big screen, and I'll go across and read it just as when they're ready. Quickly, just taking 30 seconds to thank our team at the back end. There are people behind the cameras, behind the scenes, who've been working non-stop for 14 to 16 hours, if not more, ever since this development happened to get you this kind of coverage. So I'm proud to be part of a team that is News 18, and we got two fresh additions through the day who've seen what we are going through when a situation like this. That's in Adrian and Tom. But coming back to this, there is a fresh wave of strikes in Tehran. So that means there's going to be much more activity that's going to happen. Let's just broad base this conversation if we can. And I'll read out the news, the Abu Dhabi update in a bit. Let's go back to what we said, viewers, a short while ago. We are going to look at the larger picture. So let's zoom out a little more and look at this entire region and understand from a strategic point of view what this activity means to, let's say, an Ankara. And further down, I'm just going to come back and just roll this back and roll this out a little more. And let's bring out some of the other countries that we wanted to speak about. There you go. All right. This is Google, the Google map. Yeah, Russia. And this entire region. So I wanted to bring in Russia. There had to be Ankara. There is China. Now let's look at this region and what's happening here, and then try and understand from everybody, each of our guests, starting with them in the studio, what does it mean for a Turkey? what does it mean for Afghanistan, Pakistan, all that's happening here, this entire construct. And then there is Beijing, that's China, and then of course there is Moscow or Russia here. So what does it mean for this entire region and the developments here?
And the window, one window, shattered. And I'm lucky that the other one didn't. So in instinctive mood, I took the blanket, the thick blanket, and covered my face. So the glasses, the remains of the glasses won't fly away over my face. And,
right. Take a look behind. Tell us behind what is here, what was here. If you speak with me, and just tell us what was here.
Here was a synagogue that I remember as a child. It used to be like small synagogue, and after renovation, it became a really big one and impressive one. And as you can see, nothing remains, just debris. It looks like a war zone, like just nothing. You cannot recognize that there was anything here. Just tons of rubbish and plastic, and you can see the crane over there where was the shelter that
Yes,
the people are hiding.
And the people who took shelter here, they of course live here. What kind of work do they do? I mean, do they work for the government or are they just local civilian people?
No, Bet Shemesh is it's a city of normal people, regular people, you know, white collars, blue collars people, day-to-day job, or some of them like do most of their day in praying, in study the Torah, study the Talmud, and I personally know one casualty of the incident that was happening yesterday. A young guy named Gabriel Reva. He's 16 years old. He's really close by, living really close by to my house. He's my neighbor. I know him since he was a baby. And he went here at the afternoon just for a study with the
Is that because
with the
there's
rabbi.
a synagogue? Because there's
Yes.
a synagogue?
Sometimes in the synagogue you don't necessarily go for the time of the prayer. You go to enrich yourself by studying, by reading Talmud, by reading the Bible, and that's what they've done. And going and do a lesson with the rabbi and a bunch of students. And unfortunately, this is where he's lost his life at such a young age. He didn't
This is
turn
tragic,
up.
and this is a small area, so everyone would know everyone. It's like a large extended family, is it?
Yes. This neighborhood is people live here from the 60s. The first one came to this area. It used to be a neighborhood of really small houses, and over the years, people brought more and more children. They renovated the houses. The houses went bigger. For example, this house I know very well. This house over there, because this house belonged to my uncle. He passed away 1.5 years ago. His name was Isaac, and as you can see, you already have one platform missing. It used to be 3 floors private house. One has just been demolished down.
We will take a closer look at that. But
Yes.
tell me, the people who died here, they had gone to the synagogue. Underneath the synagogue is a dedicated shelter.
Yes.
They took shelter. They went into the shelter, and
Yes.
still they were killed. So a shelter is not necessarily safe.
That's true what you said. The statistics in this case is really cruel, because the chance of that is less than 1%, I believe. But the problem, it was a direct hit. Where they went is perfectly fine. They did everything that they could do. They didn't neglect the situation. They didn't disrespect to the safe place underneath. But the problem, the missile was directly hit the synagogue.
So finally, not even a shelter is safe from a direct hit.
Yes, from a direct hit, and people like the military department who are responsible on the civil life, it's called Pikuda Oref. They say that if it's a direct hit, it's a big problem. It's basically you need to trust on your luck.
We are hearing planes overhead, and there are no
Yes.
civilian flights certainly in this airspace anymore. So would this be a military aircraft that we're
For
hearing?
sure. This is a military aircraft jet. It could be F-15, F-16, F-35. bad options, especially when you hear this kind of sound, which means it goes really fast. It's not helicopter, it's not something like that. It's a pilot shot.
And it would be in air to seek to intercept a missile?
Sorry?
It would be in the air to seek to intercept a missile?
No, the airplane, the jets doesn't intercept missiles. The system that we have to intercept missiles, the first one...
Sanjay, we'll come back to you in just a bit. Keep going on with that conversation. We'll come back to you in just a bit. Dr. Fouad Izadi, Associate Professor, University of Tehran, joins us on the broadcast as well. Good morning, Professor. Over to you. Give us a real-time update on what you're seeing. Has there been any sort of a de-escalation, any reduction in explosions, anything that you can tell us is indicative of what the situation looks like this morning?
No de-escalation. The Israelis and Americans are attacking Iranian cities on hourly basis. Last night, they killed some of your colleagues. They attacked television stations in Tehran. A couple of days ago, they attacked a school. We lost 160 girls, primary school girls. We are dealing with the Epstein class, people who rape little girls in America and bomb and kill little girls in Iran. This is a very sad situation. They attacked us in June in the middle of negotiations. They attacked us again in the middle of negotiations. Unfortunately, they are on a rampage. They want to change Iran's government. I think you saw the interview of the Omani foreign minister. He went to Washington. He had an interview with CBS News saying that an agreement was very close in 24 hours. And Trump attacked Iran less than 24 hours after that interview.
Right.
He said that he was giving concessions that Iran was not able to give before. So we have a very sad situation. These are warmongers, and hopefully they stop this type of attacks on independent countries.
Dr. Izadi, I'm glad that you highlighted that civilian targets in Iran have also borne the brunt of this, because the popular perception that's currently being established is that Iran has been attacking civilian targets as far as the US allies in the Middle East are concerned, but you highlighted that the school was also targeted. I want to quickly bring you in on the aspect in terms of, is there any scope of negotiation left now, given that it's not the first time we are seeing conflict happen, that too at the time when peace talks were on. This time around they were on in Geneva. Last time around in June also, when that first set of strikes took place, you were in the middle of negotiations. Is there any scope left for negotiations? The second question I also would want you to weigh in on, is Iran in a situation, in a position of strength to retaliate against all of these US allies in the Middle East? Many critics are highlighting how this could very well backfire for your country.
Iran is attacking US bases. Unfortunately, these US bases are located in these countries. And Iran is attacking the US and Israeli assets. For example, they evacuated American soldiers from the US base. They put these soldiers into a hotel, and Iran attacked that hotel, which is legitimate military target when you emptied the hotel and fill it with US soldiers. Iran attacked CIA headquarters in a number of these countries. They're not located in military bases, they're offices within the city. Legitimate targets. We have CIA working with the US military, killing civilians on daily basis as we speak. So the attack, and this is what Iranian foreign minister has, he has called the foreign ministers of these countries, assuring them that Iran wants to have good relations with these countries. But what Iran has learned is that unless there is a price for attacking Iran, then these type of attacks continue. They killed Iran's leader a couple of days ago. Iran will be electing a new leader. They will kill the new leader if attacking Iran is cost-free. And we cannot run a country like that being attacked by nuclear regimes every few months. As you said, Iran was in the middle of negotiations last time in June. Trump attacked, they called it Operation Midnight Hammer. Trump took that hammer, smashed the negotiation table. Iran was generous enough to provide Trump with another negotiation table. He smashed the second one. They're using negotiations as deception operations, wanting to think the Iranian side is negotiating and then they attack him. They want to change Iran's government. And this is not an Iranian professor's analysis. This is what Trump said on the first day of attacks. He's asking Iranians to go and take over government buildings, and he's attacking police stations and hospitals.
So, Dr. Azadi, you're saying the primary objective here was regime change. That said, Donald Trump, statement after statement, has come out to say that at the end of the day, when the firing stops, when the conflict is over, all this is going to benefit Iranians. So what's the common perception, the sentiment on ground when Donald Trump says, look, not too long ago, there was a heavy crackdown on demonstrators across the country, and eventually Iranians are going to be able to decide who runs the government?
They call that color revolution. They had a coup d'etat in Iran in 1953, which was successful. They tried to do this in January again with Mossad agents. This is not an Iranian professor analysis. This is Mike Pompeo, the former head of CIA, the former Secretary of State, sending New Year greetings. His tweet is still available. He hasn't taken it down. He sent New Year greetings to Mossad agents on Iranian streets. This is his wordings, not mine. They want to change Iran's government. They think that they can use Iranians to achieve that goal. Iranian IQ is no less than average IQ internationally. People know who Trump is. People know who Netanyahu is. They know these are genocidal people. And they're not going to be foot soldiers for genocidal people. They know they have no respect for human rights. They killed over 70,000 women and children in Gaza just a few months ago. So it's a pipe dream if they think that they can change Iran's government in this manner.
Dr. Azadi, questions are now being raised in terms of for how long will this new transition government be able to operate, given that there's a conflict which is already brewing out in terms of even the US allies now seem to be joining in as far as the overall conflict is concerned. More importantly, for how long will Iran be able to use the Strait of Hormuz as a choke point, given that Iran's own supplies go through this entire choke point? Are you in a position to, in fact, hold on to the Strait of Hormuz for how long is the question?
You know, Iran did not want to have this war. Iran wanted to reach an agreement. This is the statement from the Omani foreign minister that was facilitating new negotiations. Now that the US decided to attack Iran, then the Strait of Hormuz has become a war zone. You know, the school in the city of Minab, you can Google this. The Strait of Hormuz is just a few kilometers from that city, the city that lost 165 schoolgirls a few days ago. And I hope you show some of those pictures of parents of the schoolgirls, people who have lost children. In a war zone, you know, the missiles fly. It would not be advisable for ships to go through a war zone. And the hope that Iran has is that the US and Israel stop their attacks. They're attacking Tehran every few hours.
Dr. Azadi, I'm afraid we'll have to leave it at that because I'm running short of time. But please stay safe. We are praying for peace to prevail back in Iran. Our hearts, in fact, go out to all of those casualties that have been taking place. But I'm afraid we'll have to leave it at that as it's a quick wrap from my end.
Right now, there's already a traffic jam, if I can say that, a ship jam as far as the Strait of Hormuz is concerned. Let's go across to our guest, Angie Wong, who's also continuing to be with us. So how do you look at this? How long can Iran officially said it's not going to block the Strait of Hormuz, but we're seeing that it's not operating. There is a backlog now that is now piling up of ships there in the region as well. How long can they do this? And how long can other world powers allow this to happen?
Well, I think a lot of this is by design. I mean, anyone entering a war in the regions knows that the Strait of Hormuz was going to be one of the very first things that was going to get shut, if not disrupted. Already here in the U.S., we're seeing gas lines because those who are watching the news understands that there's going to be some sort of disruptions. Even though we have plenty of reserves, the consumer here is feeling that there might be some disruptions and therefore gas prices may go up. Now, the reason why I say that some of it is by design is because later this month, President Trump meets with Xi Jinping over U.S.-China trade relations. And it seems as though the strategy with the Trump administration has been to cut off the oil supply for both China and for Russia for the purposes of ending world conflicts. So this could go on for some time if President Trump chooses to. Now, if politically here in the U.S., it doesn't look very good for him. If Americans are paying upwards of $7 per gallon for gas, like we did back in the Biden administration, well, he might not like that very much and try to reverse a few things. But I would not discount this as being a short-term situation. I would definitely say that, I don't believe that the Trump administration minds if gas prices and other disruptions to energy remains this way for at least
I'll come back
some
to you
time.
with more on that, because that's an interesting comment you made. A lot of others suggesting to that point as well. But Vinny Motiwala, my colleague from CNBC TV 18, is now joining us on the market situation as far as India is concerned. Vinny, your thoughts on what we're witnessing?
Hi, absolutely. So what we're seeing in terms of the markets today, as expected, we're seeing red on the screen for the Indian markets. Nifty is down more than 200 points, 1%, more than 1% decline. Actually, now it's down 300 points, the Nifty 50. So down 1.2% in the trading session. The Sensex is down more than 1,000 points. That is also down 1.3%. Broader end of the market, that's when you look at the Nifty mid cap and small cap, also is seeing a more than 1% decline in the trading session. As of now, all the sectors, whether you look at, are trading in the red. Obviously, leading the decline today is going to be the realty pack. That's down more than 2%. We have energy, auto, PSU banks, all of them seeing a decline of more than 1% in the trading session. Now, obviously, because of the issues that were there and the concerns that are going on and the war going on in US, Israel, Iran, the conflicts over there, that has led to a decline in a lot of stock names, whether you look at something like an L&T, KC, International, all of them are seeing a bit of a pressure. Aviation, tourism names, all of them under pressure as well. Viatech, Wabagam, some of them. While some bit of a green coming in on the screen, silver prices have gone up, so that's why we're seeing Hinzing, that's in focus. Oil India, ONGC, that is seeing a bit of a green on the screen, but apart from that, it's red across the screen as of now for the Indian markets.
Yes. What is the kind of indication do you think the market would be looking at if we talk about the trading day today or, the coming days, because this conflict could last at least a week?
Welcome back. We return with another breaking news update coming in. These are visuals from Srinagar that you see right behind me. Visuals from Srinagar, clashes taking place between protesters and security forces. You see a significant security deployment here in Srinagar. Now, these are protests that are taking place once again against the killing of Khomeini is what we're learning. Now, what we're being told is at the moment that the situation did go out of hand is why security forces were called in. Now, the story is the same. Khomeini, remembers, not just a political figure, also followed by millions of Shia Muslims across the world. And that seems to be repeating itself here in Srinagar as well. These are visuals coming in from Srinagar. Ishan Mani joins us with more details. Ishan, what really happened here? Give us more details.
Well, it seems like the protesters were trying to march towards the Srinagar streets, and that's why, to prevent them from going towards, Lal Chowk or city centre, which witnessed a massive protest yesterday, and to ensure there's a peaceful atmosphere, J&K police tried to prevent them. But there were some, agitated people who were part of the protest who tried to march ahead, so police had to resort to tear smoke shelling to disperse them. They are now being pulled back, and the police is requesting them to go back to their houses because there is a restriction and prohibitory order that's in place to ensure law and order remains peaceful. As you already know that MHA has already issued directives to the state governments and UTs in wake of the developments in the Middle East that they need to be careful about dealing with the situation at the moment, and that's why police had to swing into action. They had to lob tear smoke shells. So the protesters are saying that they want to be peaceful, but there is restriction and there is prohibitory orders at the Srinagar. Several roads and bylanes have been closed for any such protest to take place because Kashmir has been one of such places which has been fragile in terms of peace, and that's why law and order needs to be maintained. We saw that IGP Kashmir VK Birdi was also present on the spot to ensure that protesters are dealt carefully and there is no room for any miscreant to create trouble, and that's why now police is trying to, after firing tear smoke shells, trying to pacify the people and telling them that they should go back and they should not stay back and they should go back to their houses because there are restrictions that have been imposed in Kashmir Valley. Ever since yesterday, ever since the assassination has taken place, there was a large crowd that had gathered at the Lal Chowk, the city center. Such crowd was not seen for several decades at Lal Chowk, and that's why government had to be careful when dealing with them. You will see a lot of these Shia Muslims are coming out of their houses. As you see, they are holding the placards and banners of Ayatollah Khomeini and are raising slogans against the US and Israel. These are essentially anti-Israel and anti-US protests. But several of them, you will see there's a crowd of hundreds. So if they march towards the Srinagar city, this can create a law and order trouble. So that's why the police is saying that they want to ensure that law and order remains
the massive security
there
deployment that we're seeing in Srinagar. So far, the situation is in control, but nonetheless, these are large-scale protests that are slowly taking place in different parts of the world, including Kashmir, including Srinagar in the latest. That's all we could pack for you in this edition of News. Thanks for watching. We'll be right back with our rolling coverage with top experts in just a few seconds. Stay tuned.
Right now, there's already a traffic jam, if I can say that, a ship jam as far as the Strait of Hormuz is concerned. Let's go across to our guest, Angie Wong, who's also continuing to be with us. So how do you look at this? How long can Iran officially said it's not going to block the Strait of Hormuz, but we're seeing that it's not operating. There is a backlog now that is now piling up of ships there in the region as well. How long can they do this? And how long can other world powers allow this to happen?
Well, I think a lot of this is by design. I mean, anyone entering a war in the regions knows that the Strait of Hormuz was going to be one of the very first things that was going to get shut, if not disrupted. Already here in the U.S., we're seeing gas lines because those who are watching the news understands that there's going to be some sort of disruptions. Even though we have plenty of reserves, the consumer here is feeling that there might be some disruptions and therefore gas prices may go up. Now, the reason why I say that some of it is by design is because later this month, President Trump meets with Xi Jinping over U.S.-China trade relations. And it seems as though the strategy with the Trump administration has been to cut off the oil supply for both China and for Russia for the purposes of ending world conflicts. So this could go on for some time if President Trump chooses to. Now, if politically here in the U.S., it doesn't look very good for him, if Americans are paying upwards of $7 per gallon for gas like we did back in the Biden administration, well, he might not like that very much and try to reverse a few things. But I would not discount this as being a short-term situation. I would definitely say that, I don't believe that the Trump administration minds if gas prices and other disruptions to energy remains this way for at least
I'll come back to you with more on that, because that's an interesting comment you made. A lot of others suggesting to that point as well. But Vinny Motiwala, my colleague from CNBC TV 18, is now joining us on the market situation as far as India is concerned. Vinny, your thoughts on what we're witnessing?
Hi, absolutely. So what we're seeing in terms of the markets today, as expected, we're seeing red on the screen for the Indian markets. Nifty is down more than 200 points, 1%, more than 1% decline. Actually, now it's down 300 points, the Nifty 50. So down 1.2% in the trading session. The Sensex is down more than 1,000 points. That is also down 1.3%. Broader end of the market, that's when you look at the Nifty mid cap and small cap, also is seeing a more than 1% decline in the trading session. As of now, all the sectors, whether you look at, are trading in the red. Obviously, leading the decline today is going to be the realty pack. That's down more than 2%. We have energy, auto, PSU banks, all of them seeing a decline of more than 1% in the trading session. Now, obviously, because of the issues that were there and the concerns that are going on and the war going on in US, Israel, Iran, the conflicts over there, that has led to a decline in a lot of stock names, whether you look at something like an L&T, KC, International, all of them are seeing a bit of a pressure. Aviation, tourism names, all of them under pressure as well. Viatech, Wabagam, some of them. While some bit of a green coming in on the screen, silver prices have gone up, so that's why we're seeing Hinzing, that's in focus. Oil India, ONGC, that is seeing a bit of a green on the screen, but apart from that, it's red across the screen as of now for the Indian markets.
Yes. What is the kind of indication do you think the market would be looking at if we talk about the trading day today or, the coming days, because this conflict could last at least a week? What are the assurances, if any, from, the oil companies, from other big trading companies, shipping companies, that the market would be looking at in the hours and days to come?
So actually, maybe, everyone is going to keep an eye out on in terms of the Strait of Hormuz, what is going to be happening on that, whether there is a continuation, what are the conversations they are having with their clients, because everyone is passing through the Strait.
Bunker, come. Hello and welcome to Inside the Bunker with the one and only #1 military historian in the world, Tom Cooper. We are very, very lucky viewers here at CNN News 18 that he is with us in the studio. He came for Rising Bharat Summit 2026 and then we said, Tom, we're not letting you go. So now what we're going to do with Tom, and we also have Ambassador Rajiv Dogra here inside the bunker, what we're going to do is to try and recreate and understand what's happening in this entire conflict. So Rajiv Dogra ji is here. We've got Tom, and he's going to do his magic here on this entire region and explain to us the various dynamics. But let's start, Tom, with the focus area, which is here. Where is Israel for us? Yeah, there it is.
Sorry,
we've just called this down. We'll call the map back up.
We killed the map.
Yeah. No, we didn't kill the map. The map's right here. and that's the reason why the map is going to be very important. It's Israel that we'll focus on. We've got a man on ground, Tom. And let's go to him first and understand Bet Shemesh. Now, there are multiple angles to Bet Shemesh. Tom here, Sanjay Suri pops up here on the inside the bunker for us and tells us what's happening at Bet Shemesh. Oh, you're standing right at the spot where it seems like the missile landed. Sanjay, take us through.
Well, right behind me is what was a synagogue, and this is Bet Shemesh. It's a small town about halfway between Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. And this is a civilian population here. People do just basic work here. They do clerical work. There are teachers, there are scholars, students there. It's just a normal little small town. And this here is a synagogue, or was a synagogue behind right here. There's no sign left of it anymore. And what happened was that 10 people sought shelter. Some of them were in the synagogue already. There was a siren, and of course there's a pre-alarm that was followed by a siren that went off, and they went and sought shelter in the dedicated shelter that is located below the synagogue. What happened next, clearly, was a direct hit from a missile. The estimates are that it carried a 500 kilogram, a half-ton warhead. It was a direct hit. There was nothing left of the synagogue, and that direct hit penetrated right into the bunker there. Almost everyone was killed. 9 people confirmed killed already. And this has spread devastation, that impact spread devastation all around. You can see the entire area around here looks flattened. If I just step aside a bit, you have more of a look and see exactly what is behind us here. This is a flattened area. This was a synagogue. There was nothing left of it. And people here are quite shaken. We just spoke with a gentleman who lives right next door, and he was telling us he was asleep and he heard a bang like he had never heard before. His glass panes shattered, and that is a...
Sanjay, I'm going to interrupt you there. Why? Because viewers, Inside the Bunker is going to tell you the story which is not visible here, or what the Israelis will not actually tell you, why the Iranians hit Bet Shemesh. And that's why Tom Cooper is going to take us through the inside story here. So let's zoom in into, and you do your thing, you do your magic. Let's find out Bet Shemesh. And viewers, bear with us.
we're going to pinpoint this area, go deep in.
This is Bet Shemesh.
Yeah.
In central eastern, let's say, Israel. Israel is very small. It's very hard to explain. This is now east or south or north. Jerusalem is here. Tel Aviv is here. Bet Shemesh is here. Bet Shemesh.
Okay.
Bet Shemesh in Arabic.
Yeah. We can keep zooming in.
This is not the town itself.
Okay, this is not the town itself. This is Bet Shemesh. Yeah, you've got the pencil here. There you go. Yeah.
So, this is the town of Bet Shemesh. Then there is a hill.
Yeah.
Up here.
So this is the hill.
Yes.
Okay. This line or this area, this is the hilly region. This is where the missile seems to have landed.
This is all hilly. This is all very hilly, broken terrain.
Okay.
It really goes down, up and down, left and right. You can see that not one road is straight.
Right.
So, right behind that hill, let me mark the Bet Shemesh again.
Yeah.
No, where is it? No. Here.
Yeah, that's Bet Shemesh.
So, now we have a place called Sdot Micha.
Sdot Micha. You see Sdot Micha? Yeah.
Okay. And north of Sdot Micha is a big military complex.
Oh.
It is,
okay, you'll have to.
Sorry, yes.
Yeah, just go back to the arrow and now stretch it. Yeah. Oh, this is you're saying this is a military complex.
This is one of the 3 military complexes with Israeli ballistic missiles.
Okay.
And these ballistic missiles like Jericho 2 and Jericho 3.
Okay. Now we've got that. Sdot Micha. Okay.
It's named after the place nearby town.
Okay. Okay. So you're saying, now viewers listen to this very carefully. What he's saying is, if we zoom into this area, this place now.
What we can see here, for example, are hardened shelters and underground facilities here.
Yeah, so you can draw. So this is underground facility. This is hardened facility.
This is, yes. And we can see also launch ramps. These are pre-constructed ramps made of gravel, and then you drive your trailer and launcher outside, pull it out, load the missile, of course, on it, raise the missile, and launch the missile.
And what target. Missiles here? These are the Jerichos.
Jericho, yes.
Jericho, yeah.
Or Jericho, yes.
Yeah,
Jericho 2 and Jericho 3.
Jericho 2 and 3. Both are to be launched here. Now, this is the hilly area. This is where the Iranian ballistic missile actually landed. It fell. And this is all civilian area.
Yes.
So
you see the synagogue here?
Yeah, the synagogue. So this is where it landed. So the distance between the synagogue and this facility here is less than about what?
9 kilometers. 9 kilometers.
9
kilometers.
9 kilometers.
Sorry, 1 kilometer.
1 kilometer. So the distance, viewers, is just 1 kilometer. This is just 1 kilometer away from Israel's. Yeah. So this is just 1 kilometer away from Israel's ballistic missile facility. So was Iran targeting a synagogue, or were they actually, like the Israelis were targeting, the Iranian ballistic missile facilities? Were the Iranians targeting the Israeli ballistic missile launch facility in Bet Shemesh?
And sadly, it's really tragic, and this is one of the most saddest aspects of doing what I'm doing, is when something like this happens, and the missile came in with such a speed, such force, that it went into the underground bunker and killed so many people.
No, but the point is, do the Iranians lack precision? Because if I were to compare this with Operation Sindoor, the BrahMos landed with precision right on top of the intended target.
Yes.
Why is it not happening with the Israeli and the Iranians? So let me ask you that.
There are several reasons for this. First, yes, Iranian missiles lack precision. They are not as precise as BrahMos, for example. The second reason is they are under pressure. They are under constant airstrikes. That means that crews launch them up. They have to work very, very quickly under pressure. Perhaps it was one of the trailer erector launchers we have seen hit by Israeli Air Force. We are not going to know. Matter of fact is they have been under severe pressure and they have had to work quickly. And then mistakes happen. And if you enter just one digit wrong, boom, it goes into the wrong place. And the third possible reason is that because this is hugely important for Israel. Therefore, they have somewhere nearby, don't get me wrong now, I don't recall exactly, one of their Arrow 3 anti-ballistic missile batteries, which is protecting this base. Of course, it's protecting nearby settlements as well.
Yeah.
So it can easily happen that this base, that this Arrow battery has returned fire, attempted to shut down the missile. There was a narrow miss, and then it's enough just
to even deflect and for it to miss its trajectory.
It goes wrong. Yes, exactly.
So what Tom is saying here is that clearly it's a commonsensical question. If I've got a missile base here, if I've got a ballistic launch system, and if there are civilians, I will have an anti-ballistic facility that will perhaps protect this range. So what if the interceptors fired and somewhere just deflected the ballistic missile sent by the Iranians and it landed here, rather than its intended target that is here? And that's why there are civilian casualties. And this entire thing of weaving narratives, the Iranians say, oh, Israelis are killing civilians. The Israelis say, oh, Iranians are killing civilians. But the reality is it's collateral damage, sadly, but truly.
It's tragic, especially, for example, when we see Israelis striking intelligence headquarters in Tehran, Iranians are striking intelligence headquarters in Tel Aviv or in Haifa or in Bahrain CIA office. So it is mutual. Both are striking targets which are within densely populated areas. Both are causing civilian casualties through this.
Well, Ambassador Rajiv Dogra is with us in the studio. Group Captain MJ Vinod is also with us. Burzin Wagmar is also with us. My namaste to everybody. But I'm going to just come back to this. Ambassador Rajiv Dogra, this entire game of narratives. Now, this is something which we have to tell the world, that there is a ballistic facility that the Iranians are targeting. The Iranians are not just firing blindly at civilians, as the Israelis claim to say.
Well, firstly, I'm glad that you pointed this out, because there is a lot of censorship going on, especially from the Israeli end. They do not want the actual casualty or actual strike figures to come out, because it exposes the lack of their interception capabilities, which had not happened earlier. This is the first time the Iranian missiles have a free passage. I'm exaggerating, perhaps, but this is what is happening. Otherwise, they wouldn't have hit wherever they wanted to hit. And most of the hypersonic missiles, for instance, despite Israeli claims that they've shot down 3, have also gone through. So there is time for Israel to reflect on what has gone wrong. And a lot seems to have gone wrong.
Right. We've got Lieutenant Colonel Jonathan Conicus, former IDF spokesperson, also joining us here inside the bunker on CNN News 18. Thank you, Lieutenant Colonel Conicus. Thank you for your time. And if I may call you Jonathan, this is what the Iranian target was. That's what Tom Cooper here is saying. Your ballistic missile facility, which houses the Jerichos 2 and 3 in Bet Shemesh, but sadly it's landed in a civilian area.
Yes, hello to you from Israel. With respect to the esteemed colleagues in the studio, not entirely sure that they know what they're talking about. The bottom line here and the facts on the ground is that the Iranians are killing civilians all over the Middle East. They have killed 11 Israeli civilians so far, 2 women in Tel Aviv, in separate incidents of civilian buildings that were hit with Iranian ballistic missiles, and they unfortunately were murdered, and 9 in Bet Shemesh, outskirts of Jerusalem. You know, the Iranians may say, their propaganda machine may say, and your people in the studio may fall for those lies, that they are aiming for military targets. And you know what? That may even be the case. But the weapons that they're using, unlike what Israel is doing, are still imperfect weapons with relatively limited accuracy. So when they fire an objective that is around the size of a school bus, about 1,000 kilometers away, that has massive implications, and the chances of them hitting a specific small target are extremely low. But guess what? The Iranians don't burden themselves with whether or not they will hit civilians. They're hitting civilians all over Israel, and they're doing it in Kuwait, in Qatar, in the United Arab Emirates, in Saudi Arabia. They are killing civilians everywhere. So I would respectfully...
Sir, your own spokesperson has told clearly in October 2023, you are not searching for precision, you are searching for destruction.
Who
it's
are
as simple
you?
as that.
And who
This
are
is
you?
Tom Cooper, military historian, who's with us in the studio. I think you gentlemen know each other, but his submission is that this is something that the Israeli spokesperson, IDF spokesperson themselves have said, that you're not searching for precision, but
for destruction.
I don't know who you are.
What is his name?
I don't know who you are and what agenda you represent, but what you say is utterly wrong. What Israel is doing, and to bring up some misquote from 2.5 years ago, I think is highly unprofessional.
And he has said, we are not searching for precision, we are searching for destruction.
You said something and I'm responding to it. To bring up a misquote from 2 years ago from a different conflict, different location, I think is highly unprofessional and misleading and wrong and libelous. What Israel is doing is striking precision targets based on accurate intel, focusing on military targets all across Iran, missile launchers, depots of where the missiles are, military infrastructure, of course, senior regime officials, headquarters of military locations. And I'll just finish the point.
Yes, please.
And I think we see a very stark contrast here between what the Iranians are doing, wanton aggression across all of the Middle East, but focusing more on Israel, and what Israel and the US are doing, which is precision, high-quality military strikes on intended targets.
But Ambassador Rajiv Dogra is also with us, and he had a point to make, and what he was trying to say, Jonathan, we'll see if we can call him here. He's right behind us. So if we can, he is saying that how is it that the Iranians are able to penetrate the Israeli Iron Dome, arrows, and also David Sling? Yeah.
Another point, no offense and no provocation to your Israeli guest, but the reports coming out of Iran from first day was that Israeli missiles had targeted a school where around 100 children died. Whether that is a fact or not, later events will reveal. But Iranians have repeatedly said that. So I think every human life is important, as is the life of those school children.
Jonathan?
Yes. Yeah. So respectfully to the ambassador, I would advise extreme caution with any information disseminated by Iranian authorities. These are the same authorities that claim that they only murdered 3,000 Iranian protesters, when in fact we know that the amount is between 32,000 and 40,000 Iranians that were murdered by the Iranian regime. So I would advise the honorable diplomat to be very careful when listening to a terrorist regime that has a long and proven track record of blatant lying. That's one thing. Second thing, I know for sure that Israel is targeting military targets and military targets only. I know also for sure that that specific location was a location that belonged to the IRGC, to the military part of the IRGC. And at this stage, I actually don't know if it was the US or Israel that struck it. But at the end of the day, what Israel is doing, what the US are doing, is striking military targets. I don't think it should come to a surprise to anybody here, if you've been watching events in Western Asia for the last 50 years, that bad guys like the Iranian regime, like Hezbollah, like Hamas, and like many others, they have this ugly tendency of hiding behind civilians and using civilians as human shields. So again, you can believe what you want, and if you want to peddle Iranian propaganda, free speech. You're a democracy. You can do that.
There's also Israeli propaganda.
Yeah, that's what Tom is also saying, that if there can be a school on the Iranian side near the IRGC headquarters, there could be a synagogue near the ballistic missile site in Bet Shemesh on the Israeli side. So what we are trying to say is that both sides will want to carve a narrative which suits them, and there will be propaganda from both ends.
Yeah, of course, there's propaganda from both ends, but I think the facts on the ground, when you do just a small analysis, a lazy analysis, not very detailed, but when you do a quick analysis, when you look at where these Israeli civilians were murdered, 9 Israeli civilians were murdered and more than 20 were wounded, far from, I'm talking more than a kilometer from any military installation. So, you can do a map of Israel. Israel is a small country with lots of military installations all over the country. And you could, after the fact, claim that you were trying to hit some other location, some military location, but that wouldn't be truthful. But I suggest, again, people will believe what they want to believe. And if you want to propagate Iranian propaganda, by all means.
But we need not buying Israeli propaganda either.
No, I can understand from your accent.
We're just trying to put out, with no disrespect to anybody. No. With no disrespect to anybody. And Jonathan, I'm going to thank you for joining us. No disrespect to anybody at all. What the Israelis say, what the Iranians say, we're going to put that out. But we're also trying to here deep dive and say, what's the story behind the story? Unfortunate that there is a synagogue here, and this is where the target happened. Not so far away from the synagogue is Israeli military installation. So the Iranians were targeting this, that's the intent, but they ended up hitting this, that's the result. So, yeah, tragically so, that's the reality. We're going to move on. Thank you, Jonathan, for joining us. Master Rajit Dogra stays on. Burzine, before I come across to you, let's now take the next question. Now, how is this surveillance happening? Let's understand. There is one that was brought down yesterday, the MQ-9 Reaper. We've got a picture, we've got a visual, and this is the MQ-9 Reaper. What is the speciality of this MQ-9 Reaper, and why is it that the Israelis were so happy they brought one down? This is seen on the skies over Iran. Yeah.
Well, it has a stealthy shape, as you can see. It is made to reflect radar signals in all different directions, just not back to the antenna.
Yeah.
So therefore, it is supposed to operate relatively close to its potential targets, very high, very slow. It has a long endurance. It can remain airborne up to 27 hours, yes. Or if equipped with fuel tanks, up to 34 hours, sorry. And additionally, it can be armed with small guided ammunition.
How high can it, send pictures from how high above the ground?
It is usually flying at between depends on the mission, between 6 and 12,000 meters.
6 and 12,000 meters. Yes. So if I say 12,000,
so
that's about 36 to 40,000 feet?
Something like this, yes.
Yeah.
So what is the point about it? It enables monitoring or surveillance of an area over extended period of time, which is particularly important for such cases like when Israelis are trying to assassinate one or another president or supreme leader or prime minister or Hezbollah leader. Why? Because in this fashion, they can constantly monitor their movements, even over months, of course, by successful UAVs, by successful drones.
They used this in Afghanistan also, didn't they?
The Americans have used this in Afghanistan, yes. The Israelis have a little bit different models. They are using them in Israel, in Syria, in Iran, in Iraq, all the way to Yemen.
So, and it's a remote pilot, so the
pilot is sitting in a command and control container at home, so to say, at his home base, very far away, and everything is done via satellite.
It's done via satellite, yes. What?
Earlier reports.
Yeah.
The Houthis had brought down one of the Reapers, and another Reaper was brought down some time back around Iranian territory. Right. So this is not the first time that a Reaper has been brought down.
On the contrary, the Houthis have shot down some 7 or 8 of them.
So
what's the cost of each Reaper, MQ-9 Reaper?
I don't know exactly by heart, but it goes into about a dozen of million. When fully equipped with all of the latest.
At least $12 to $15 million is the cost per drone. and the Houthis have downed about 8 to 9.
Command system.
Command systems, based on the command system and what it's equipped with. And that's been brought down by the Iranians, and it's big because this is sending real-time intelligence. There are multiple ways that the Israelis and the US are actually gathering intelligence by hovering over Iran. We'll show you some of those pictures also of stealth drones in a bit. But there is also what the Iranians are using. Okay, we've got the RA-01 stealth. So let's try and look at the RA-01 stealth. That was a visual. We had the pictures. We'll see if we can call out those pictures also as we put out the details about the RA-01. Can we have a look at that, please? Can we call that? After the MQ-9 Reaper, can we move to the next graphic?
Yes. This is particularly spectacular take. This was taken over Tehran, and it's showing one of Israeli-made RA-01 UAVs. They are relatively small. They are perhaps 1.5 meters long.
Okay, so that's why difficult to spot. They look like a bird actually floating in the sky.
Exactly. And also stealth-shaped. So very hard to detect by radar. And this one, the Iranians have already shot down several. They have shot down at least 2 last June. They have already shot down 2 this year. And this is very hard to track, very hard to detect and track, and very hard to shot down. Nevertheless, it works as well. So, but the point is now the following. Such UAVs are collecting information, intelligence, for hours and hours on day. Then the next one comes in, tracks the same target and so on. They are collecting so much information. There are so many such UAVs that the Israelis and the Americans need separate aircraft carrying processors which are processing all of this information, so this can be integrated into the overall picture for the commanders on the, in command centers.
And what are they doing? They're hovering all over Iran.
Yes.
To watch every single move. Also, can they send real-time information when a ballistic missile is fired? The silos, the location, etc.?
They are following commanders, they are following troop movements, they are following major bases, or actually tracking major bases, and then reporting about whatever their optical systems see, whatever their infrared systems can detect, to the headquarters.
And what is their hang time, if I may ask, if they can stay
for
up?
This one, it is unknown, but probably, I wouldn't say less than 12 hours, so it is probably longer.
It's longer than 12 hours. So that means real-time intelligence, continuous intelligence, and by the time one is running out of battery or fuel, the other one is already up to take its place. Again, remote control from a very, very far distance, and also via satellite. Now, this use of satellites to try and manage your information systems and equipment becomes very, very potent, especially for somebody like the Israelis and also the Americans, because they are past masters at it. Ambassador Rajiv Dogra?
Well, so too are the Chinese, Anand and Tom. And in fact, Chinese are sending real-time information, not while the war was on, but even before that.
Yes.
And Chinese have been telling them exactly the position of every ship, every missile launch station in Israel, and every aircraft carrier that Americans have.
Yes. This is how the Iranians have staged this, attempted to attack one of the US Navy's aircraft carriers. Almost certainly thanks to Chinese intelligence, or Chinese intelligence provided by the Chinese.
Let's now move the conversation and talk a little more about Iran. Now, how much has, oh, that's Egypt. I've come to Egypt.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, this is the disputed Persian Gulf and of course the Strait of Hormuz. So we will talk about that at length in a bit. But viewers, let's try and understand what is the Shahid 136. The Shahid 136 yesterday in this Persian Gulf, Tom, actually downed an Emirati tanker. It was also has been used to try and destroy, as the Iranians claim, certain US air bases. Now, what are the Shahid 136? Why is it so potent and important?
It is a relatively simple flying bomb, de facto. Slowly flying, not jet propelled, except for latest versions developed in Russia. It's propelled by an engine like on a scooter. So. And it has a very good range. It can have some variants have range of 2,000 kilometers. So it is flying slowly, between 70 and 120 kilometers per hour, which is making it hard to detect. Additionally, its shape is also stealthy, which is making it additionally hard to detect. So it is a perfect weapon for well, as we have seen, striking selected targets very deep behind the enemy lines or well away from Iran, in this case. let's say this way. The Iranian attempts to strike Israel with shaheds were so far not that successful. Why? Because the Israelis and Americans are flying combat air patrols over Jordan. This is here, over this area, over Syria. So their fighter jets have built a sort of a wall, and they're intercepting anything, whatever UAVs are coming from Iran. Then Iranians started launching UAVs from northwest via Syria, via northern Iraq and Syria. This took the Israelis 1 or 2 times by surprise, but eventually they have closed this gap as well. So the fighters are always the first line of defense against such targets like UAVs. The second line of defense are medium-range and short-range missiles. However, they're expanding them to strike such targets or to intercept such targets like UAVs is extremely expensive. One has to keep in mind that a single Shahed costs less than $20,000, but a single missile costs well over $1 million. So therefore, both the Americans and the Israelis are trying to use other means to shut down UAVs. Foremost, these modified guided rockets. Simple, relatively small rockets, which have now they were modified to have a laser guidance. And then such aircraft like this F-15, which crashed, was actually shot down over Kuwait. Yes.
We were just putting out those visuals of the F-15. The pilot is safe. He's been moved to the U.S. base. That's what we had the pictures. But the F-15 was actually shot down by a Shahed 136.
No, apparently, at least that's the latest info, is that it was shot down by Kuwaiti air defenses.
Kuwaiti air defense.
Why? It was busy with shooting down UAVs streaming from Iran. So whether these UAVs went to Kuwait or to Israel is presently unclear. But while operating against them, it flew into the area protected by the Kuwaiti air defenses. And there is a foreign problem.
Friendly fire.
They do not see each other. We are talking about such ranges over which this war is fought that they do not see each other. So therefore, nominally they would have integrated and or adjusted their identification framework for IFF systems. Apparently they haven't. Therefore, Kuwaitis have opened fire and shot down the F-15E of the U.S. Air Force.
U.S. Air Force. So clearly, the F-15E, as per Tom Cooper here inside the bunker, he's saying that it was shot down by friendly Kuwaiti fire because they were trying to negate the Shahed 136. So let's try and understand via graphics why the Shahed 136 is so important, viewers. The Shahed 136 drone is Iran's low-cost kamikaze drone with long-range strike capability. So that's what it looks. It's cost just about $20,000, but it's like a bomb, flying bomb. That's what they have built it, and that's why the Russians have used this even in the Russia-Ukraine war. It's got a delta-wing loitering munition. That's what it is. It's designed for one-way attacks. It's not coming back. That's why it's called a suicide drone, kamikaze. Now, it can strike targets up to 2,500 kilometers. So the Iranians can fire low-cost loitering munition all the way up to Israel if they find that flight path. That's what Tom was also saying. And it can get away with 50 kilograms of warhead. 50 kilograms is a lot in terms of based on what is it that you packed inside the warhead to cause damage. It's used in swarms to overwhelm the air defense systems. Why? Because if I'm sending you a swarm of 250, 300 drones plus or 600 drones, your systems can only shoot down perhaps 250 or 300 of them. Even if 100 of them pass through, that's a lot of damage at the coordinate that's been keyed in, because it's 50 into 100, 5,000 kilograms of explosives landing together. That's what happens suddenly. In terms of scale, the amount of explosives that land. Also, around 185 kilometers. That's the flight speed, and of course weighs approximately 200 kilograms. So it's quite lightweight compared to a lot of other munitions.
This size, yes, but lightweight, yes, because of composite construction.
It's an MD-550 piston engine that powers it with distinct buzzing sound equipped with AI, GNSS and inertial navigation systems, rocket-assisted launch from truck-mounted rack. That means they can keep moving, shifting locations, and then have their tubes all across Iran. Now, where all are the Shahed 136s placed? And what is going to be Iran's strategy in this region, especially against its neighbors in the Gulf, the Persian Gulf? We will talk about this with Tom Cooper inside the bunker, along with Ambassador Rajiv Dogra and Burzine Wagmar, who's there outside. And we will catch up with him too on what next from Iran for this region and, of course, the Strait of Hormuz when we come back after a short break. Stay with us.
As we keep up with these visuals. But yes, this is how the war in West Asia is playing out on day 3. No signs of de-escalation as yet. Do remember today, this morning, at least Indian Standard Time, we began by picking up visuals really of how Israel was going after some of the Hezbollah targets, which in fact have begun fighting this war for Iran. Ambassador Dogra is with us in our studio here. Good morning, Ambassador. Your thoughts really on what we're tracking. These are big, important visual sets that continue to trickle in, that go on to also highlight we're far, far away from looking at any signs of de-escalation as yet.
F-15 is just one small part of the story. Fortunate, but in wars, these losses are the normal. The news that is trickling in from Israel is much more serious. There are reports that a nuclear power plant has been targeted by Iranian missiles. There are reports that some of the generals, Israeli generals, have been sort of killed in strikes by...
Apologies, Ambassador. I need to quickly come in because this is another important piece of information that's coming in. We need to cut across to CNN Live.
Was unable to use their bases, to use their airspace in order to carry out this attack. They had been lobbying hard the United States president to try and convince him not to go ahead with these strikes against Iran. They believed that that would show that they had distanced themselves from what is happening right now, but it has not. We are seeing an unprecedented retaliation from Iran against these Gulf nations, and the leaders of these nations are extremely angry, some of them saying they reserve the right to retaliate should this continue. And Jim, as of now, it is continuing.
So, Paula, in Dubai and Abu Dhabi, in the UAE, who is providing the missile defense? Is that a combination of their own resources in the U.S. military, or is it primarily the U.S. military?
Well, here in the UAE, they actually have among the strongest air defense systems in the Middle East, with the exception of Israel, of course. They have worked very closely with the US military over a number of years.
Back live here on Inside the Bunker with Tom Cooper, Ambassador Rajiv Dogra and Burzine Wagmar. The importance of the Strait of Hormuz. As of now, the Iranians are saying they're not closing the Strait of Hormuz, but they're not allowing any traffic in the Strait of Hormuz. Any oil tanker attempting to enter or any oil tanker attempting to exit is being attacked, be it an Omani tanker or an Emirati one. This is all, there is a huge traffic jam on this side and on this side of the Strait of Hormuz. The import, strategic import of it from Burzine Wagmar, Ambassador Rajiv Dogra, and the tactical reason why this is becoming a huge pain point for the world, not just the region, but the entire world, with Tom Cooper here. But first, Burzine, yes, thank you for your patience. Strait of Hormuz.
Never mind the Strait of Hormuz. Let's go to the other side, the Minab school, which is located where your map is, Anand. If you could just turn back near Hormuz Island and Hormuzgan province, where the red line is on your map. That's where the town of Minab is, opposite Oman's Musandam Peninsula. And the school in question that was hit was, again, you could call it friendly fire, as Persian networks are putting it now. It was an IRGC missile that hit the school, so that needs to be clarified. It was not a coalition force missile. That needs to be amplified and pointed out, and I'm clarifying it here and now. And the school in question was cheek by jowl with an IRGC complex of ballistics and munitions depot and the rest of it, which is so typical in the Middle East with Hamas and others, that they have these civilians embedded within the same region or the location of how they operate from. That is typical modus operandi.
Burzine, let's zoom in it. Zoom in on Minab, yeah.
The town of Minab is right there in Hormuzgan province, and opposite. And Anand, your left finger is there near. Anand, your left finger was. And your left finger was near Oman's Musandam Peninsula on the opposite side.
Yes.
So that's it. Right. Correct. So that's where it was.
Just a second.
Khasab, Sur, Buraimi, those parts are Oman, and that's Oman. And Anand, just on your left. Is that large bit is Keshem Island, which is the Iranian oil terminal area.
This one, the Keshem Island, this is where it is. Keshem is here.
That is very important, and coalition forces can keep that in mind, because if you remember, Anand, during the war last year, in April, never mind the 12-day war, Biden did prevail upon Jerusalem not to bomb Iranian oil facilities, and he had Keshem in mind. President Biden, and Iran and Israel did not, if you remember that.
Correct.
That was the first round in April as such.
Let's just stay with this part, because there is another interesting area that is Kish. Tom, would you want to come and explain the lay of the land to our viewers, why the Strait of Hormuz, that is peppered with these small islands, becomes strategically very, very important, viewers, even from a kinetic, tactical point of view, not just trade. Yes, Tom.
Okay. I said again, we have the inboard line, graph running like this. And then past Kish Island. Sorry, these are Thumb Islands. Yes, these are here.
Okay.
And the outboard goes like this. So now the point is that this inboard line is passing through Iranian territorial waters. This means that Iranians have the right to stop and search, or at least check the reasons why is the ship passing by. Every ship, no matter what, including the US Navy warships. Besides, this is also close to Iran, to Iranian coast, that they ships passing by from the coast, not to talk about their own vessels. Nowadays, we are going to see less of their traffic. They are monitoring what is going on from Keshem and from Kish. Kish also has an air base. Furthermore, I have to zoom in now, just a second. These two islands here, these are Greater and Lesser Thumb. They are disputed. Their ownership is disputed between Iran and the United Arab Emirates ever since the British have left in 1971. Here, the IGC has anti-ship bases and also surface-to-air missiles. Probably these were some of the first targets that the Americans have hit. 48 hours ago.
To try and save all the ships here.
To keep the shipping lines safe.
Keep the shipping lines safe. You see how narrow this is, this entire Strait of Hormuz. And that's the Iranian side. That's deeper. This is deeper. This side is deeper. The inbound side is deeper. The outbound area, and that's why they still have to stick closer to the Iranian side than this one.
What's more, I said 25 to 50 meters on this side, 25 meters or less south of here.
Right. Now, as you explain it here, that camera stays with you. Now, we are also showing here the traffic that's building up on both sides. Now, this is the Strait of Hormuz, so they've got to pass here. But if you look at Bandar Abbas, if you look at the ports here around Ras Al Khaimah, and more importantly, before they enter in the Arabian Sea. So this pileup is going to increase because the Iranians say they haven't closed the Strait of Hormuz, but they have. They blew up an Emirati tanker. They blew up an Omani tanker.
Control problem. Iranians have a command and control problem. The Israelis are striking their commanders. The Americans are striking their command nodes. They are having a command and control problem. Their troops in the field, deployed in the field, they have their orders, which might be days old. In the case of this, do that. In the case of that, do this. So correspondingly, if they are out of touch with their command, or that if they can't reach their commanders, they are doing what they've been told 5 or 6 days ago.
Right.
And this is when then happens that they are threatening the international shipping or even striking tankers because they do not know what is going on. They are cut off. They are in the field. They are outside in the wilderness. wilderness, and they do not know what is going on. They do not have the TV, they do not have the internet, because this would reveal their position. They have to hide all the time. They are afraid because they see the US and Israeli aircraft flying above them. So therefore, they're trying to survive. That is first point. And the second point is to do something under apostrophes, whatever this something is.
Right. Yes, Ambassador Rajiv Dogra, Group Captain MJ Vinod, this is why we like you in the studio more, but because we forget sometimes that you're there with us. Yes, Ambassador Rajiv Dogra.
Very informative discussion. Just to add to it, because there is a feeling that why not blockade? After all, the passage is very narrow, and in fact, at the narrowest point, it is just 3 kilometers wide for ships to pass through.
Right.
But the real reason why...
This year.
Yeah, this is the narrowest one.
Yeah.
No? This
The
one,
real reason why Iranians have not decided on blockade is very intelligent, very clever, very practical. Because they don't have enough ships. They do not want even their small boats to be engaged in this exercise while they are needed elsewhere.
Yeah.
And the threat of action is enough. It acts
Is
as
a
a
deterrent.
blockade.
It's a deterrent in its own. Yes,
They
Tom?
know since 1988, when the US Navy ran the Operation Praying Mantis and sunk several warships of the Iranian fleet, they cannot survive not even in these narrow waters without air support. And they are not going to have air support because of American air superiority.
Right. So I'm just going to quickly, Group Captain MJ Vinod and Burzeen, please weigh in. This is the narrowest point. This difference is just about 3 kilometers. There are also these small ships, the mini subs that are under this, which can perhaps try and do something from below the sea and damage these tankers. There is a base here. These are contested areas. There is a base here. This is Kish.
And here as well.
There is Kish. There are SAMs and missile systems placed there. And of course, this is Keshem. Now, in Keshem again, these regions, they are very, very close to this entire merchant route, and the Iranians are watching very, very carefully. Nearly 40% of the world's energy, etc., moves through this narrow strait before it ends towards South Asia. The Chinese will be watching, the Russians will be watching, and of course, you've also been very patiently watching for a while, Vinod. So please go ahead. Thank you for your patience.
I'm just taking a leaf from what Tom was talking about. And I remember sending this to you yesterday. 3 bases that is going to be, a big issue for shipping lines of communication getting disrupted. One I put behind me, the Tum and the greater Tum and the smaller Tum both has runways. And both has military capable runways. Another one which I sent it to you on your WhatsApp, Anand, is a place called Siri. Siri is nearly 100 kilometers.
Siri is right here.
Right there.
Yeah.
100 kilometers from Dubai, and that is where I think the smaller drones have come attacking Dubai. So Siri, what really beats me, Anand, is you and I on the map are able to analyze with a little, and Tom, what UAE commanders and others couldn't do is my question mark. If they had done it, they would have done something about it, isn't it? So they didn't do anything about it is what really, it beats me absolutely.
See,
where is the logic to protect yourself?
There is real
when you see
intelligence,
such
there
a
is
thing as-
artificial intelligence, and there is real stupidity.
Yeah.
They have all the 3 systems. That is the THAAD system, PAC-3 system, and also they have got something from Russia, the Panjshir system, and the integrated command and control network. This is UAE I'm talking about. All that seems to have completely fallen on its face. So there is someone's head needs to roll, and they need to go back to the drawing board, looking at what they will do in the future, Anand.
Right. Now, Tom, there is news just coming through. So we're going to move from the Strait of Hormuz, and I'm going to request you to help us find the Ras Tanura. That's the Aramco refinery, because these are pictures that have just come in, viewers, that Iran has started attacking Saudi Arabia's oil refineries and oil infrastructure overall. Big explosion here at the
Ras Tanura, that's the Aramco factory, Saudi Arabia's biggest oil company there. And of course, this is state-backed. And you see, look at the plumes of smoke. Now, this is real escalation, Tom. And what are the dynamics of this, Iran moving to this level? Is this going to further intensify? Because the Saudis have already, they're very, very peeved. Yes, Tom.
Ras Tanura is on the coast of the Persian Gulf, northwest of Bahrain, near Jubail, for example. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. No. So that the viewers can see it better. Oh, sorry, now it's here. And, well, obviously, once again, the Iranians haven't had it very hard to strike the place, because it is something like, 100 kilometers away from their coast.
Yeah, now Jubail is coming here.
Okay,
sorry, I don't know why
we have a problem with this map all the time, but that is not a problem.
Yeah, so
we can serve it.
Yeah, so that's Bushehr, and from Bushehr, Al Jubail is not so far away, and that's it.
And Ras Tanura was here somewhere.
Yeah.
So, what does this mean? Again, it can mean two things. That first is that somebody is out of control and shooting UAVs at what he was told to shoot several days ago. The other is that the leadership in Tehran, the new leadership, has decided, okay, there is nothing to negotiate, there's nothing to talk about. We are with our back against the wall. We have no other options. If we go down, everybody goes down. Therefore, Ras Tanura.
Ras Tanura here, Al Jubail here. This is Iran here, and they are firing from here. And what you are saying is, Tom, that there is no current chain of command coming through. So there are local commanders here who are perhaps deciding to say, okay, let me look at the old playbook. Day 2 of the war, day 3 of the war, these are the targets that I am supposed to target. But there must be some communication going that they have decided to do this now. Why not do it 24 hours ago? Why do it now?
I said, break down in a chain of command, or somebody acting on his own hand. We shouldn't forget several years ago, that was around 10 years ago, a local IRGC commander has brought the decision, because they were deployed in the field, and he saw a US UAV, Global Hawk, flying over the Strait of Hormuz. According to his radar data, the UAV was inside the Iranian sky, so therefore he opened fire, shot it down. This is how they act, because they are trained to act on their own.
On their own.
Without an order from above. If there is an order from above, if he can reach the commanders, okay. But if not, he is acting on his own. And this is probably one such case, I guess.
Well, I think somewhere is the Indian military also being told to act similar to the IRGC. You know, act as you feel appropriate at that particular time of need, because to try and decentralize the command chain so that if it's gone. Yes, Ambassador Rajiv Dogra.
You know, I mean, you're both absolutely right that local commanders may have taken this decision, and it is part of the Iranian plan. Even when the Supreme Leader Khamenei was alive, they had been given the authority to take action if they felt it necessary. So far, it has worked all right. But as far as attack on Saudi Arabia is concerned, I am not exactly sure whether part of it is owned by the Americans. But even if it is not, the fact is that Saudi Arabia had openly been instigating Trump to start attacking Iran.
Yeah.
So this is the message from Iran. They did not do it in the first few days, 2 days, but they've done it now.
Yeah, this is Saudi. Yeah.
And the message is quite clear that, you know, you cannot be working against us and hope to remain unscathed, hope to remain unchallenged. So this is, you know, a first indication to Saudi Arabia that please do not get actively involved in war, which some messages are conveying that Saudi Arabia is thinking of getting involved in war. So Iran, the other point, sorry to digress a little, the other point which I wish to make is that compare the regime change threats by Trump to what actually happened in other countries. In Iraq, everyone folded up. In Libya, everything folded up. In Afghanistan, they tried, but the Taliban are back. So regime change does not work everywhere. And in Iraq, it has not worked. Iran, it has not worked.
Right.
So far.
Somewhere they believe that if they can install a clerical head who's a little more moderate and perhaps does not toe a line of death to Israel, death to America. We've got Prime Minister Narendra Modi speaking on the joint statement between Bharat and Canada. Cutting across to that.
The next two documents are Terms of Reference for Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, or CEPA, and the Declaration of Intent on Joint Pulse Protein Center of Excellence. These documents will be exchanged by the Honorable Maninder Sidhu, Minister of Export Promotion, International Trade and Economic Development of Canada, and Shri Piyush Goyal, Minister of Commerce and Industry of India. We next have the Department of Atomic Energy Cameco deal on supply of uranium ore concentrates. This document will be exchanged by the Honorable Scott Moe, Premier of Saskatchewan, and Mr. Tim S. Gitzel, President of Cameco on the Canadian side, and by Shri Dinesh K. Patnaik, High Commissioner of India to Canada. The last document is the MOU for Global Link Research Internships. This document will be exchanged by His Excellency Mr. Christopher Cooter, High Commissioner of Canada to India, and Shri Dinesh K. Patnaik, High Commissioner of India to Canada. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the exchange ceremony. I would like to inform that Prime Minister Modi will be addressing the media in Hindi. Members of the audience may use the audio device provided to listen to the translation in English language. I now request the spokesperson of the Ministry of External Affairs to conduct the rest of the proceedings.
Namaskar, good afternoon. The Right Honourable Mr. Mark Carney, Prime Minister of Canada, Honourable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi, Honourable Ministers, members of both delegations, distinguished guests and friends from the media. We will now have the press statements. May I request Honourable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi, to give his remarks to the media.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister Mark Carney, दोनों देशों के डेलीगेट्स, मीडिया के साथी, नमस्कार। प्रधानमंत्री कार्नी का भारत में स्वागत करते हुए मुझे बहुत खुशी हो रही है। प्रधानमंत्री के रूप में यह उनकी पहली भारत यात्रा है। हम इसे एक महत्वपूर्ण माइलस्टोन के रूप में देखते हैं। पिछले वर्ष कनाडा में आयोजित G7 बैठक में उन्होंने मेरा और मेरे डेलीगेशन का गर्मजोशी से स्वागत किया था। आज उसी आत्मीयता से उनका स्वागत करना मेरे लिए सौभाग्य की बात है। दुनिया में बहुत कम लोग हैं जिनके सीवी में दो देशों की सेंट्रल बैंकिंग लीडरशिप लिखी हो। हमारी पहली बैठक से ही हमारे संबंधों में एक नई ऊर्जा, परस्पर विश्वास और सकारात्मकता आई है। सहयोग के हर क्षेत्र में बढ़ते मोमेंटम का श्रेय मैं अपने मित्र प्रधानमंत्री कार्नी को देता हूं। फ्रेंड्स, भारत और कनाडा लोकतांत्रिक मूल्यों में अटूट विश्वास रखते हैं। हम डाइवर्सिटी को सेलिब्रेट करते हैं। मानवता की भलाई हमारा साझा विजन है। यही विजन हमें हर क्षेत्र में आगे बढ़ने की प्रेरणा देता है। आज हमने इस विजन को नेक्स्ट लेवल पार्टनरशिप में ट्रांसफॉर्म करने पर चर्चा की। हमारा लक्ष्य है कि 2030 तक हमारा व्यापार $50 बिलियन तक पहुंचे। आर्थिक सहयोग का पूरा पोटेंशियल अनलॉक करना यह हमारी प्राथमिकता है। इसलिए हमने कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव इकोनॉमिक पार्टनरशिप एग्रीमेंट को जल्द ही फाइनलाइज करने का निर्णय लिया है। इससे दोनों देशों में निवेश और रोजगार के नए अवसर बनेंगे। कनाडा के पेंशन फंड्स ने भारत में $100 बिलियन का निवेश किया है। यह भारत की ग्रोथ स्टोरी में उनके गहरे विश्वास का प्रतीक है। आज हमें दोनों देशों के बिजनेस लीडर से भी मिलेंगे। उनके सुझाव हमारी आर्थिक साझेदारी का रोड मैप तय करेंगे। फ्रेंड्स, टेक्नोलॉजी और इनोवेशन में हम नेचुरल पार्टनर हैं। विथ कनाडा एंड इंडिया इनोवेशन पार्टनरशिप we will turn ideas into global solutions. पिछले महीने भारत में हुई AI इम्पैक्ट समिट की सफलता में कनाडा के बहुमूल्य योगदान के लिए मैं प्रधानमंत्री कार्नी का आभार व्यक्त करता हूं। हम AI के साथ साथ क्वांटम, सुपर कंप्यूटिंग और सेमीकंडक्टर्स में सहयोग बढ़ाएंगे। क्रिटिकल मिनरल्स पर आज हुआ MOU रिजिलियंट सप्लाई चेन्स को मजबूती देगा। स्पेस सेक्टर में हम दोनों देशों के स्टार्टअप्स और इंडस्ट्रीज को जोड़ेंगे। फ्रेंड्स, प्रधानमंत्री कार्नी के लिए एनवायरनमेंट कोई अलग एजेंडा नहीं, बल्कि इकोनॉमिक स्टेबिलिटी का हिस्सा रहा है। ऊर्जा के क्षेत्र में हम नेक्स्ट जनरेशन पार्टनरशिप बना रहे हैं, जिसमें हाइड्रोकार्बन के साथ साथ रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी, ग्रीन हाइड्रोजन और एनर्जी स्टोरेज पर विशेष बल दिया जाएगा। हमें खुशी है कि कनाडा ने इंटरनेशनल सोलर अलायंस और ग्लोबल बायोफ्यूल अलायंस से जुड़ने का निर्णय लिया है। हमारे साझा प्रयासों को आगे बढ़ाने के लिए हम इस वर्ष इंडिया कनाडा रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी एंड स्टोरेज समिट आयोजित करेंगे। सिविल न्यूक्लियर एनर्जी में हमने लॉन्ग टर्म यूरेनियम सप्लाई की लैंडमार्क डील की है। हम स्मॉल मॉड्यूलर रिएक्टर्स और एडवांस रिएक्टर्स पर भी मिलकर काम करेंगे। कृषि में वैल्यू एडिशन, एग्री टेक्नोलॉजी और खाद्य सुरक्षा हमारी साझा प्राथमिकताएं हैं। इस दिशा में भारत में इंडिया कनाडा पल्स प्रोटीन सेंटर ऑफ एक्सीलेंस स्थापित किया जाएगा। फ्रेंड्स, रक्षा और सुरक्षा के क्षेत्र में बढ़ता सहयोग हमारे गहरे आपसी विश्वास और संबंधों की मैच्योरिटी का प्रतीक है। हम डिफेंस इंडस्ट्रीज, मैरीटाइम डोमेन अवेयरनेस और मिलिट्री एक्सचेंजेज बढ़ाने पर काम करेंगे। इसी उद्देश्य से आज हमने इंडिया कनाडा डिफेंस डायलॉग की स्थापना करने का निर्णय लिया है। फ्रेंड्स, पीपल टू पीपल टाइज हमारे संबंधों की असली ताकत है। आज हमने इन्हें और मजबूत करने के लिए कई महत्वपूर्ण निर्णय लिए हैं। एआई, हेल्थ केयर, एग्रीकल्चर और इनोवेशन में आज कई यूनिवर्सिटीज के बीच नई पार्टनरशिप की घोषणा हो रही है। हम कनाडा की यूनिवर्सिटी द्वारा भारत में कैंपस खोलने पर भी सहमत हुए। इंडिजिनस और ट्राइबल कम्युनिटीज हमारी साझा सांस्कृतिक विरासत का महत्वपूर्ण हिस्सा है। सांस्कृतिक आदान प्रदान बढ़ाने के लिए दोनों पक्षों के बीच आज एमओयू किया गया है। फ्रेंड्स, भारत के लिए कनाडा इंडो पैसिफिक में महत्वपूर्ण साझेदार है। इंडियन ओशन रिम एसोसिएशन में डायलॉग पार्टनर बनने में उनकी रुचि का हम स्वागत करते हैं। इससे हमारे मैरीटाइम सहयोग को नई गहराई मिलेगी। हम सहमत हैं कि टेररिज्म, एक्सट्रीमिज्म और रेडिकलाइजेशन दोनों देशों के लिए ही नहीं, पूरी मानवता के लिए साझा और गंभीर चुनौतियां हैं। इनके विरुद्ध हमारा करीबी सहयोग वैश्विक शांति और स्थिरता के लिए अत्यंत महत्वपूर्ण है। विश्व में चल रहे अनेक तनावों को लेकर भारत की सोच स्पष्ट ही है। हमने सदैव शांति और स्थिरता बनाए रखने का आह्वान किया है, और जब दो लोकतंत्र साथ खड़े होते हैं तो शांति की आवाज और भी सशक्त हो जाती है। पश्चिम एशिया की वर्तमान स्थिति हमारे लिए गहरी चिंता का विषय है। भारत डायलॉग और डिप्लोमेसी के माध्यम से सभी विवादों का समाधान का समर्थन करता है। इस क्षेत्र में मौजूद सभी भारतीय नागरिकों की सुरक्षा के लिए हम सभी देशों के साथ मिलकर काम करते रहेंगे। एक्सेलेंसी, आपकी यात्रा से हमारे सहयोग के हर क्षेत्र को एक नई ताकत मिली है। भारत के प्रति आपकी गहरी प्रतिबद्धता और दूरदर्शिता के लिए मैं एक बार फिर आपका हार्दिक अभिनंदन करता हूं। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
Thank you, sir. May I now request the Right Honourable Mr. Mark Carney, Prime Minister of Canada, to give his remarks to the media.
Thank you very much. I will make my remarks in English and in French. And may I begin by thanking you, Prime Minister Modi, for the generous hospitality that you have extended us here in New Delhi. You've extended my ministers as they've visited, and the spirit of partnership with which you've approached our relationship since we first spoke in my capacity as Prime Minister last June. And as you mentioned, a few weeks later, you made time to come to the G7 summit in Alberta, Canada. 5 months after that, we met in Johannesburg at the G20. And now, today, the first bilateral visit of a Canadian Prime Minister here in 8 years. In the intervening months, our foreign ministers have been busy. They've met 5 times. 4 of my ministers have led delegations here to India. Provincial premiers have been here, including today. There has been more engagement between the Canadian and Indian governments in the last year than there has been in more than 2 decades combined. So, this is not merely the renewal of a relationship. It is the expansion of a valued partnership with new ambition, focus, and foresight, a partnership between 2 confident countries charting our own course for the future. In the last decade, let's just reflect on what's happened. In the last decade, under your leadership, Prime Minister, India has become the fastest growing economy in the world. Per capita incomes in this country have risen at a pace never seen in history, seldom in human history. The most ambitious projects in clean energy, in the digital economy, in biofuels, in the next generation of artificial intelligence talent are all here in India. Prime Minister, Canada shares such ambition and your sense of purpose. Comme l'Inde, le Canada voit un monde en profonde transformation. Comme l'Inde, nous savons que les certitudes qui ont structuré le commerce, la sécurité, la finance et la diplomatie pendant plus d'une génération ont été renversées. Et comme l'Inde, nous reconnaissons que le système multilatéral sur lequel nos deux pays ont longtemps compté est mal adapté aux défis de notre temps. We both know that nostalgia is not a strategy, and that those who succeed in this new era will be those with the confidence, the ambition, and most importantly, the partnerships to build a more inclusive, sustainable, and prosperous future for all our citizens. And I believe the prescription for success in this new era is well exemplified by the theme of your G20 presidency in 2023, which I had the honor of attending. That theme, of course, one Earth, one family, one future. Because the challenges of our age cannot be solved by one country alone. And only by building on the principles of one Earth, one family, one future can we forge the partnership worthy of our countries. Reconnaissons que nous partageons une seule terre, nous renforçons notre collaboration en matière de climat et d'environnement. Le Canada prévoit de doubler son réseau électrique d'ici 2050 et d'accroître considérablement le déploiement des énergies renouvelables et du stockage de l'énergie. De son côté, l'Inde est une chef de file mondiale dans le domaine de l'énergie solaire à grande échelle. Les technologies de stockage d'énergie et d'autres formes d'énergie renouvelable. C'est pourquoi le Canada et l'Inde tiendront cette année un sommet sur les énergies renouvelables réunissant l'industrie, les investisseurs et les décideurs publics afin d'élargir et de diversifier le commerce des technologies propres. Et nous bâtissons, à partir de maintenant, un partenariat énergétique pour un avenir plus durable. India is a country whose demand growth for energy is projected to double by 2040. And to meet that demand sustainably, India plans to increase its renewable capacity by 500 gigawatts by the end of this decade, and to almost double the share of LNG in its primary energy mix over the same period. Canada is well positioned to contribute as a reliable supplier of the world's lowest carbon, responsibly produced LNG from our west coast. As India seeks access to critical minerals for its manufacturing, its clean tech, and its nuclear plans, Canada's resource base and world-leading companies position it as a strategic partner. As one example, the nuclear agreement, the uranium agreement signed today. As another, the fact that 40% of the world's mining companies are listed in Canada. Today, we are launching a strategic energy partnership with significant potential to expand bilateral energy trade. We've signed, as you've seen, a new critical minerals partnership spanning development, processing, and secure supply chains for clean energy, electric vehicles, and advanced manufacturing. We're deepening our cooperation in clean energy, expanding collaboration across wind, solar, and hydrogen. Because Canada has big plans as well. We plan to double our grid by 2050, and India can be a major partner in this expansion. As you've seen, the government of India and Cameco have signed a major $2.6 billion uranium supply agreement supporting India's nuclear ambitions and our shared commitment to clean, reliable baseload power. All of these agreements, under one planet, are beginning of a new prosperous relationship that will offer generational opportunities for workers and businesses in both our countries and which will protect the planet for future generations. Secondly, we are one family. The greatest, most enduring strengths between Canada and India are the families who call our nations home. Nearly 2 million Canadians trace their roots to India, including leaders in business, science, culture, and government. Tens of thousands of people travel between our countries every year to visit friends and family. 400,000 talented Indians study in Canada. That is twice the number in the United States. It is 4 times the number in the United Kingdom. These students, these connections, deepen our ties. And so we're collaborating to build on those strengths. We've launched the new Canada-India Talent and Innovation Strategy with 13 new partnerships to deepen our ties in education. And this includes collaborations involving McGill, the University of Toronto, University of British Columbia, to work across artificial intelligence, health sciences, and digital architecture. Notre partenariat va propulser des centaines de chercheurs canadiens et indiens grâce à des projets de recherche conjoints de pointe. Nous lançons de nouvelles bourses et de nouveaux programmes de fellowship pour l'Indo-Pacifique afin d'accroître la mobilité universitaire et de former la prochaine génération de talents. Over the longer horizon, the Prime Minister mentioned a moment ago the $100 billion of investments already in India by our pension funds. Those pension funds have $2 trillion in capital. There are already some of the largest foreign investors here, potential for significant growth, particularly given the scale of the infrastructure build in this country. And thirdly, we share one future. That's why we're forging deeper ties in frontier technologies from AI to space. At the G20, India and Canada signed a landmark trilateral partnership with with Australia on AI and critical minerals. And we've already identified key sectors such as digital infrastructure, semiconductors, electronics manufacturing, and high-performance computing. With the agreements today, we're going to expand our collaboration between the Canadian Space Agency and the Indian Space Research Organization on Earth observation, on climate monitoring, on generating the data that powers agriculture, disaster response, climate resilience across the Indo-Pacific. And our partnerships will be reinforced by the strong foundations we are building in trade and defense. We're advancing towards a Canada-India Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement with the aim to conclude by the end of this year. This ambitious agreement will reduce barriers, increase certainty, unlock opportunity for exporters, investors, and workers in both our countries with the aim to double trade by the end of this decade. And we're renewing defense and security cooperation through a new defense partnership, through maritime collaboration in the Indo-Pacific, through professional military exchange, and practical coordination and cooperation on our shared security interests. One of the things that has always struck me in Prime Minister Modi's stewardship of this country has, well, India becomes a great power, the focus has remained on all households, ensuring that all households benefit from the progress. So give an example. The Ujjiwala scheme, which provides liquefied petroleum gas for tens of millions, actually hundreds of millions of rural and low-income households. Cleaner cooking fuels, reducing pollution, saving lives, and reducing costs. Or another example, and I speak under the control of the former governor, Governor Das, former Governor Das, I should say. It's always tough to give up being a governor, isn't it, Governor? But the revolution in digital payments to provide income support, crop insurance payments directly to individuals, but the spillover benefits are enormous. And part of our agreements is to explore an ability to cooperate further so that Canada benefits from this innovation. The bigger point is that our partnerships from energy to AI share this spirit so that Canada and India can harness technologies, deliver equally transformative benefits to hundreds of millions of people. Now, to close, we're charting a future of one Earth, one family, one planet, or one future. And I was reminded as I was coming here, as Swami Vivekananda, of course, one of the greatest philosophers. And more than a century ago, I hadn't realized this until I read it, but he, in his travels, spent time in both Vancouver and Winnipeg. And in his travels, in his texts, he personified this maxim: arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is reached. With this partnership, we will advance, we will not stop until the goals of Viksit Bharat 2047 and Canada Strong are reached. It moves us forward, it builds our prosperity, it builds for all, and it builds for a better world. Thank you very much for your listening.
Thank you, sir. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney there in their joint statement. This is, of course, an important visit as far as the Canadian Premier is concerned, because this is indeed an absolute resetting of ties. This is a complete 180-degree turn, really, from the relationship that India and Canada had under his predecessor, Justin Trudeau. Mark Carney, of course, has made no qualms about the fact that he wants a better relationship with India. He considers India a great power and a rising economy and wants to partner with the country. Interestingly, the Prime Minister there also gave his first statement as far as tensions in West Asia is concerned. He has talked about how the situation prevailing in West Asia is a concerning one for India. He said that India expects that with dialogue and diplomacy, all conflicts and problems can be resolved. And he also said that they are coordinating with all the Gulf countries for the safety of Indians who are present there. Time for a very short break. We'll be back in just a bit.
As we keep up with these visuals. But yes, this is how the war in West Asia is playing out on day 3. No signs of de-escalation as yet. Do remember today, this morning, at least Indian Standard Time, we began by picking up visuals really of how Israel was going after some of the Hezbollah targets, which in fact have begun fighting this war for Iran. Ambassador Dogra is with us in our studio here. Good morning, Ambassador. Your thoughts really on what we're tracking. These are big, important visual sets that continue to trickle in, that go on to also highlight we're far, far away from looking at any signs of de-escalation as yet.
F-15 is just one small part of the story. Fortunate, but in wars, these losses are the normal. The news that is trickling in from Israel is much more serious. There are reports that a nuclear power plant has been targeted by Iranian missiles. There are reports that some of the generals, Israeli generals, have been sort of killed in strikes by...
Apologies, Ambassador. I need to quickly come in because this is another important piece of information that's coming in. We need to cut across to CNN Live.
Was unable to use their bases, to use their airspace in order to carry out this attack. They had been lobbying hard the United States president to try and convince him not to go ahead with these strikes against Iran. They believed that that would show that they had distanced themselves from what is happening right now, but it has not. We are seeing an unprecedented retaliation from Iran against these Gulf nations, and the leaders of these nations are extremely angry, some of them saying they reserve the right to retaliate should this continue. And Jim, as of now, it is continuing.
So, Paula, in Dubai and Abu Dhabi, in the UAE,
So the West Asia war has entered its third day with violence intensifying across multiple fronts. Israel has launched fresh airstrikes on Hezbollah targets across Lebanon, including strongholds in Beirut's southern suburbs, following rocket fire from the Iran-backed group. An F-15 fighter jet has crashed in Kuwait. The pilot ejected safely, but the cause of the falling is under investigation. Iran claims it has inflicted major damage on U.S. assets in the region, including alleged drone strikes on bases in Kuwait and Bahrain and missile attacks on the USS Abraham Lincoln. In Baghdad, protesters stormed the U.S. embassy amidst rising anti-American anger. U.S. diplomatic missions in Pakistan have suspended operations after violent protests there too, following the killing of Ali Khamenei. UAE has shut financial markets in Abu Dhabi and Dubai for 2 days. Global markets have reacted sharply with gold and silver prices surging, while the Indian rupee weakened against the dollar. As far as the downing of some American jets in Kuwait is concerned, Kuwait has confirmed that there have been crashes of U.S. fighter jets during this war. Kuwait's Ministry of Defense has said that several U.S. fighter jets have crashed, but the pilots are safe. They're further adding that relevant authorities are immediately initiating search and rescue procedures. The crews are being evacuated and transferred to the hospital to check on their health status, and necessary medical care is being provided, noting that the condition of those U.S. airmen is stable. We have those visuals, at least, of one such American jet that has been downed. Now, exactly how it went down, we don't know, but those are the visuals of at least the pilots trying to parachute out. So this is what Kuwait is saying, that there have been crashes. So this is the new update. We knew of one crash that had happened, but Kuwait's Defense Ministry is confirming there have been several such crashes, but there is no loss of life of American servicemen, is what they're indicating, and that they're also coordinating on ground for search and rescue missions. Crews are being evacuated and transferred for medical care. One F-15 jet went down in Kuwait. The pilot ejected. Those are those visuals. But Kuwait is now confirming that multiple such crashes have taken place, but all pilots are safe. Remember, America announced last evening that 3 of their servicemen have lost their lives in this operation. But will there be more casualties that are reported as the hours progress, especially in the second 24 hours of this conflict, remains to be seen. Donald Trump has certainly indicated that there could be more casualties on their side, or at least they're prepared mentally for the toll to be a little bit higher, even as both US and Israel indicate that this conflict or their operation could last at least a week. Donald Trump even seemed to suggest it could last up to a month. Let's go across to my colleague Anand also, who's joining us. So Anand, 2 important updates coming in from Kuwait. One, that there have been multiple such crashes. We knew of one so far, but that the pilots, all of them, are safe.
Vani, now this is something which is which happens. Perhaps this is something, and the UAE and this entire region, Kuwait, Qatar, all these nations don't seem to have gamed. The fact is that the Kuwaiti air defense systems are not talking to the rest of the air defense systems, and in a concerted effort where you have a joint operation which is pushed by the US military and the Americans along with the Israelis. The Kuwaitis were actually fighting against the Iranian drones, and somewhere what's happened is the F-16s which were traveling in that region were not aware, nor were the Kuwaitis, and some of these aircraft seem to have been downed by friendly fire. And this is a collateral or cost which perhaps could have been avoided, because the F-16s don't come cheap. And this is something that's happened. Luckily, all the pilots are safe, but this has not been, these F-16s have not been brought down by the Iranians. They've actually been brought down by the Kuwaiti air defense systems, which are actually trying to tackle the UAVs that were being sent by Iran. And the F-16s have come into that flight path, and they've been caught. That's what the intelligence is suggesting. Now we have the Kuwaiti defense minister confirming that yes, there have been crashes of US F-16s, but it's not the Iranians who brought them down. It's because of friendly fire, because all these systems and all these entities are not actually talking to each other, and the skies, you're blind. Nobody knows at that distance who's firing and who's not, who's coming and who's not, and that's what seems to have happened.
Right. Anand, I do appreciate you joining us. So multiple such crashes are being confirmed by Kuwait, but no pilots have lost their lives, is the update that is coming in. We'll get you more as and when we learn from Kuwait, from Israeli forces, and of course the Americans as well. Lieutenant Colonel Dr. Mordechai Kedar, former IDF military intelligence member, is also joining us. Your sense of some of these F-15s going down, what do you think could have happened?
When it comes to Kuwait, I have no idea. But what I would like to point out is the fact that the United Arab Emirates, means the 7 Emirates, were targeted by Iran 6 times more than Israel. It's unbelievable, but hundreds of drones were launched against Dubai and against Abu Dhabi. Israel also, we have casualties because of ballistic missiles. But the United Arab Emirates are targeted deliberately by Iran, because Iran today wants to take revenge from all those Arabs who betrayed Iran through the years and had relations with Israel. This is how the Iranian regime acts against peace. We have wonderful peace with the United Arab Emirates, and this is the reason why Iran attacked, especially the United Arab Emirates. Here in Israel, we have some 10 people got killed and dozens got injured, but we continue to grind the Iranian defenses in Tehran and in other places as well.
So, you're talking about this unexpected strategy by Iran, where they're targeting the Gulf nations more than they're even attacking Israel itself. The reaction from some of these Gulf countries we've seen, including UAE, as you mentioned, that may have borne the biggest brunt of these counterstrikes from Iran. What do you expect the long-term impact of the relationship between these Gulf countries and Iran, regardless of what happens, for example, at the end of this conflict?
No, I don't think that there is any future to these relations, because the Iranian regime will collapse. The mullahs will have to run away from the people with the knives, who will challenge the connection between the heads and the shoulders of the mullahs. Their regime is breathing its last breaths. They are finished, because Israel and the United States of America are determined to put an end to this junta of mullahs who control Iran already for 47 years, too many 47 years, and is the end of the regime in Iran. Read my lips. They will not have any chance to survive. The power of Israel and the power of the United States combined today in the Gulf.
Yes. Stay with me, Dr. Kader. I do have some more updates coming in, and this is also concerning how the conflict is becoming much more serious than even yesterday in the Gulf. Saudi's Aramco refinery has been struck by a drone now. Saudi Arabia's Ras Tanura refinery has had to shut down operations because of this. Top government sources say official confirmations from Saudi Aramco or the government are pending on the exact origin and the full extent of the damage. But this incident shows how quickly the Middle East conflict is spreading to critical energy infrastructure as well. My colleague Anand Narasimhan continues to be with us. Anand, we also saw this in the UAE. There was, a refinery or some sort of a tanker facility that was attacked yesterday. And we've just been talking about this with our guest. This strategy seems to be a self-defeating one by Iran.
It is self-defeating, but one has to also look at the details of this entire oil refinery, which is in Ras Tanura. Ras Tanura is not so far from Al Jubail and also not so far from Bahrain or Manama. It's right on the coast and right across the Iranian coast where they can very easily send their drones. Now, these Shahed 136 or these kamikaze drones, they are cost-effective warfare for the Iranians. Each drone costs not more than $20,000 but carries about 50 kilograms of warhead, and a swarm or even about 10 or 15 of these drones coming in together have a payload upward of 500 kilograms of explosives. And when they drop, they're not supposed to come back. They can cause damage. But for the Saudis, for the Americans and for the Israelis, for everybody else, the cost of interception is higher. The other part is Saudi Arabia, along with Israel, are seen as the ones that have coaxed America to get into trying sorting out Iran and toppling this regime. And somewhere this seems also could be a message that has come out, and top government sources are saying it's still not confirmed whether it is the IRGC or Iran's proxies like the Hezbollahs or the Houthis who may have been involved in firing these drones or using these drones, because these drones can travel nearly 2,000 kilometers and they follow their GPS coordinates. And this may be a message that's being sent. It's also not yet confirmed whether this particular refinery had a certain amount of American stake and whether or not there was a quasi-base near this area. And that's why this message has been sent. But the Saudis now, the Emiratis now, and some of the other Gulf countries, the Arab nations, will now start collaborating together and bringing in their muscle and might into this war, because Iran has now poked them.
All right. I do want to go across, Anand, thanks a lot for joining us. Lieutenant Colonel Dr. Mordechai Kedar continues to be with us, and former diplomat Rajiv Dogra is also joining us. But Dr. Kedar, I want to ask you, how long before you think that Saudi Arabia and UAE both could join some defensive military action? They've warned Iran about these targets, especially now, not just on civilian sites, but also on critical energy sites. How long before they actually join the action with US and Israel?
I don't know, really, because I don't know what happens behind the scenes. Maybe now, after Iran targeted the United Arab Emirates, maybe now they will start acting decisively against Iran, but I'm not sure that their military force can afford attacking Iran. I have no idea about the forces of United Arab Emirates regarding attacking Iran. Saudi Arabia, its army is bigger, and they definitely can do something. The only question is if they want to join the war and to really act against Iran. So far, they didn't start. Maybe behind the scenes, there are all kinds of talking between Netanyahu and Mohammed bin Salman, the crown prince. Maybe, I have no idea, but it's a good idea. Maybe they watch India's CNN, and now they know that this idea came from here.
Do stay on with us. We are continuing our coverage here, and how the Gulf has now gotten involved because of these constant strikes that are coming in from the Iranian side. And here we're talking about Saudi Arabia's Aramco refinery that has been struck by a drone. And these are the visuals that we are putting out for our viewers. And this is what has happened in Saudi Arabia. This is the Ras Tanura refinery. It has been shut down. The operations have been shut down. All of this after these drone strikes were reported. And you can see the impact of the damage as we can assess after this drone strike has taken place. Smoke